Hey there, it is time for some nuggets at noon. I'm actually starting a little bit early today, so if you clock in at 12:30, you'll be seeing a pre-recorded version. Turns out there's a little schedule conflict, and I have to put on my mommy hat and go pick up my son. So doing this a little bit early. But how are you guys doing? I'm doing well, aside from the total dreariness that has fallen upon Philadelphia. It is damp and rainy, and it's just kind of a crappy day. But uh, last night were big storms rolled through, power outages, and trees down and road closures and flooding. So I wanted to talk to you about power loss because it's that time of year and a lot of people get freaked out and they're not prepared for losing power in their house. And the summer and the winter give you a different set of problems based on not having power. So we're going to focus on the summer stuff and how to get through some of the warm days when we have power outages. So those ice storms are a whole nother ballgame. But let's talk first about when the power goes off. The first thing you need to know is what is the phone number for your power company, your electric company, utility company, whatever you want to call it. In the Philadelphia area, it is PICO. And the number is 1-800 841 4141. I believe this is a number you need to put into your cell phone because most of us do not have good old-fashioned rotary phones anymore. We've got, cordless phones that are on electric bases and they don't work when the power goes out. So unless you have a good old-fashioned dumb phone or princess phone to plug into the wall, you may not have phone service either. So put the number for your phone company into your cell phone. Again, PICO in Philadelphia, 1-800-841-4141. You need to call and report your power outage because the more they know about the numbers, the more quickly and efficiently they can send the crews to the neighborhoods that have the most power loss. And they can start to see it on the grid and format what they need to do. So often they will give you an ETA of your power returning. Now, we've all heard that, they tell you, oh, your power will be restored by 3. 3 o'clock comes and goes, and then the new update is, oh, it'll be 11 p.m. So know the number so you can call in and at least have a clue as to when you might get your power back. But now let's step back a bit and talk about preparation for power loss. Now, I've been in my house 17 years, and we have underground wiring. So you think, oh, that would be great. You don't have lines coming down, you don't have poles falling down. No, to be honest with you, it sucks because however it is set up, we lose power like that. I have lost power on beautiful, sunshiny days from a little bit of wind. We have no idea why. There's no rhyme or reason. But first off, know your neighborhood. Do you lose power often? Then you're going to have to put in a little more effort on the preparation than somebody who just rarely, unless it's really severe, loses power. So there's a few things you need to have on hand. Just, I think, for any general safety, if there's ever, God forbid, a natural disaster or terrorist thing, I'm not like building a bunker in my basement by any means, but there's some common sense things that you should have around, and that begins with bottled water. And I'm not talking about, just the 12-ounce bottles that we all drink from, the recyclable ones, but a couple jugs, a couple gallon jugs of water, distilled water or spring water, to put in your garage or your basement to just have. They're sealed, they'll sit there for 2 years. It's water. But in case there's something wrong with the water in your house, you need to have that. If you have a well in your house, if you have well water, there's a pump that moves that water. You may not have a backup on the pump, so you may not have water when the power goes out as well. If you have public water and sewer, you should be fine. But if you have a well, make sure you have a backup. Not just for drinking, but also for bathing. Maybe you just need to rinse off, but make sure you have some gallons of water around the house. My husband laughed at me because I used to stockpile. I had 3 maybe 4 gallons of water on a shelf in the garage, and he laughed at me. But we've used them on a couple occasions, so it's nice to have on hand. Another thing is to prepare. If you know a storm is coming, if you see the weather reports, we're going to have severe thunderstorms later today. Do a couple quick little errands, and I'm not talking about getting bread and milk because the snowstorm's coming, but make sure you have gas in your car. If the power's out in your house, you may need to charge your cell phone. It'd be really nice to know that you have gas and you don't have to go out in the middle of a storm to go and get more gas to power up your devices. So make sure you have gas in the car. Also, make sure that you have snacks, foods that you can eat without refrigerator access or without cooking. You know, whether it's crackers, peanut butter, bread, fruit, and just munchies. Now, unfortunately, most of the stuff that's not healthy is the stuff that will sit on shelves longer, but in a pinch, at least you know that you're eating something. So make sure you've got snacks. Batteries. I don't know how many people don't have batteries because they don't even know that, oh my gosh, a storm's coming, they don't pay attention. Baseline, routine, have batteries on hand. Make sure you've got a flashlight on hand. Little batteries for little flashlights, double A's. You want to have the big C or D cell for the bigger, chunkier batteries. Just be an informed homeowner and have a supply of that stuff so that you're prepared for anything. The other thing is medications. If you do have someone who has maybe a refrigerated medication like insulin or a medical treatment like a nebulizer that requires power, so you need to make sure that when storms are predicted, you're prepared. Do you have the treatments that they need? Do you have backup inhalers? Do you have a cooler that you can put insulin into the moment power goes out so you don't have to open the fridge multiple times? So plan ahead on those little things just to make sure people are safe. Okay? Some other things that we forget about, one is the can opener. How many of us have electronic can openers, and when the power goes out, you're like, I'm screwed. I can't even open a can of tuna or something because I don't have a can opener anymore. So make sure you have a handheld can opener around. Another thing that in our electronic age so many of us forget about is a radio. And yeah, none of us really have boom boxes anymore, and we certainly don't have, little ham radios like days gone past. But if you can invest in a cheap radio or even just a clock radio, maybe that's in the bedroom that you can put batteries into so that you can pick up some signal and get weather updates or other news, that's really important to have around because the cell phone and the smartphones, charges can die, you can run out of juice, and signals can fail. So the battery operated handheld radio will still last longer than any of the other stuff that you're going to plug in and hold on to a charge for. So it's good to have one of those archaic dinosaurs around the house every now and then. Now, another important step is when you see the storms are coming, and my son was cracking up yesterday. He got 5 text alerts about the bad weather, and he's like, oh my gosh, it's like ridiculous. Every county alert and thunderstorm, severe thunderstorm. So when you're getting those alerts where you know it's predicted, take a moment and disconnect your big ticket electronics. Talking about your big screen TVs and your computers. Now, you probably, or if you don't, you should have them on surge protectors anyway. It's always wise to have those big ticket items plugged into a surge protector. And by surge protector, I mean the long strips that have like 6 plugs and the little on-off switch. And they have a surge protector built in to help protect your equipment from a sudden burst of energy outlet. But in severe weather predictions, unplug those big ticket items. You don't have to have them on. You can live without the television and the computer for a little while. Unplug them. Even though you have it off, there's still a surge that can come through that wall plug. So we just run around and unplug the big guys. Okay, not worrying about every little appliance, but my girlfriend lost her TV one year. Another neighbor lost a VCR. So, when these things are $200-300 for those little items, up to $1,500 for these big fancy plasma TVs, take a minute, unplug it. You'll be happier after. Some other little preparation things are in your refrigerator and your freezer. Now, when a storm is predicted, it's important to plan a food, to make a food plan, because you may not be able to open that fridge or freezer for hours. Now, in my house, it is a given rule. When the power goes off, nobody opens the fridge, because we've had power go off for 10 minutes and we've had power go off for 22, 25 hours. And that was not during hurricanes. That was not during major storms. That was just a little thunderstorm. 24 hours. So the rule is, do not open the fridge or the freezer unless it's an absolute must, like getting insulin or baby formula or something like that. A closed refrigerator should hold its temperature and keep the food safe for about 4 hours. Now, that's according to the CDC and the FDA. 4 hours is all it gives you for a closed refrigerator. You start opening and closing the door every 10 minutes because your kid wants this or you want that. Tick, 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 tick. The time's ticking away. Now maybe you're down to 3 hours. Maybe you're down to 2.5. So preserve your food. Keep the door shut. I've even grabbed a bungee cord or tape and taped the handle so nobody would inadvertently just open it up forgetting. So do that. For your freezer, keep in mind, 48 hours for a full packed freezer. If it's a loosely packed, half full, you've got 24 hours. So keep that in mind. But there are some things you can do to add a little bit of longevity to that freezer and fridge chill time. Here's what you do. When you know that these bad storms are coming, or if you have room for baseline, like I do, I have a full freezer in my basement, and I also have a refrigerator freezer in the basement, plus the one in the kitchen. So I have a lot of freezer space. I got 3 kids. There's a lot of food that's consumed. But take Ziploc bags and fill them with water and put them upright in your freezer and let them freeze. Basically, you are creating your very own ice packs within your freezer. If you have the room and you don't need every ounce of space for food storage, make these ice packs, because they act as just little travel packs in a power outage. So it has bought me a lot of time when we've had freezer outages. The last big storm was Hurricane Sandy last year, and we went 3 days without power, and there were just a couple things that I had to throw out of my freezer. Everything else was in really great shape because I had packed some ice bags strategically. Now, the other thing is that you want to take things off the door of your fridge and your freezer when a power outage is potentially imminent, because you want everything packed to the back of the freezer in the center shelves, because that's where the coldest air is coming and it will retain the air better. So pack it all in there. If you've got maybe a small freezer, upstairs, and you've got a big freezer downstairs, take the stuff from the little freezer out of the kitchen, go put it into your big freezer. This way you can pack it all in and things will last longer. Nobody likes to lose meat. You're buying, a roast, or you're buying a package of ground meat and chicken. Those things can be anywhere from, 10 to 20 bucks a pop. So don't be crazy and not take that moment of prevention. So pack things strategically, and even for every day, just in case the power goes out. You put your bread products on the door. You put other things that can thaw, maybe some vegetables. You want to make sure that the meat and the dairy are buried back in the back of the fridge and the freezer so that they last longer all the time. Okay. Another good tip, preventative, is to own a thermometer for your fridge and your freezer. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't. Do as I say, not as I do. I don't have one, but it's a good thing to have, because then you can measure whether or not your refrigerator or freezer are at the appropriate temperature. Your fridge should be right around 40 degrees or less. If it starts to climb any more than that, it's when you start losing food and you risk illness. So, like Mama always said, when in doubt, throw it out. Okay, don't be foolish. Nobody needs to have salmonella or E. coli or some intestinal bug over a couple bucks worth of food. So, take your time. And again, you can smell the food, you can look at the food. Don't taste the food to see if it's bad. Okay, that's not a good idea. Not recommended. Now, one other thing for surviving in the summertime is you have no AC, power's out, open windows. You need to get air moving. It's counterintuitive. You're like, I want to keep the cold air in, maybe for an hour or two, but once that cool air starts to disappear, open the windows, especially with elderly people, apartment dwellers. When you got pets, you got to keep air moving. Even though it's hot air, it's still air. So keep it windows open. If you have a sunny side of the house, you can close the drapes, but still keep the windows open to keep the air moving. Use fans. Make yourself an ice block in a Ziploc bag. Put it in front of a fan. You and your kids can sit there. It's like old-fashioned air conditioning. Cool you down. Remember, no grills or propane ever in the house or in the garage. Don't operate them in those places, okay? And another thing is the generator. Many people have bought them over the last few years because of the severe power outages, especially along the East Coast. But if you own a generator, make sure it is outdoors. Make sure it is covered. Maybe you need to buy one of those pop-up sports tents to cover it from the rain because you don't want rain specifically coming on it, but you don't want to operate it in the garage either. That's a hazard. So if you have a nice neighbor, like I do, who lets me tap right into his whole house generator, you can run electric cords across from one house to the next. Make sure they are approved outdoor quality extension cords. And in case they're laying in a puddle of water, which is a bad idea, they're okay if they get exposed to some elements, but you don't want them laying in a puddle. What I do is take a Ziploc bag or just a sandwich bag and cut a little slit, and you run the wires, in it, can make the connection inside the bag, zip it, and then I use duct tape or electrical tape, twist ties, zip ties, whatever, to try and seal it off so that you protect that connection from sitting in water or being exposed to too much water. So I think that's pretty much all that I have for you. I have to keep it short and sweet. I have to go pick up my son. And I've got some really exciting stuff coming up, folks. Working on a pilot TV show. So I need as many of you guys to join in and be followers. So if you don't mind, go to the website, sign up for the newsletter. We got to build this flock up so I can snag the advertising contributors that I need to, and I'll keep you posted with my newsletter on when we hope to be putting out a pilot. So again, the website is DIYHipChicks.com. I'm Beth Allen. Thank you so much, and I hope that these little tips help keep you comfortable, save you a few bucks, and help you weather the storm a bit. So thanks for tuning in, and have a great day. Bye.